Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to my Timber Kits Stephenson's rocket project. Now if you have no idea what this is about, you can see the last video up here, check it out if you'd like to. In that video I created this monstrosity, which is pretty awesome I have to say. It's starting to take shape, you can pretty much tell that it is Stephenson's rocket. But it has been doing my head in seeing it in this horribly incomplete state, and today I'm going to fix that. Today I'm going to try and finish this off. I still don't know whether I'm up to doing this kit justice, I still don't know whether it's all going to go together and work properly, but today is going to be the day when we find out. So it's a new day, I've got a new bog roll on the go, so that's a good sign, we can do all sorts of mopping up with that. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, let's get on with this. Let's see if I can't finish it. In terms of the instruction booklet, we are now more or less exactly halfway through the project. But in terms of the number of pieces left, I would say we're getting through this pretty nicely. Most of the pieces have already been used, so I don't know how much longer this is going to take. Am I actually halfway through the project? Maybe this is all a big ruse and it's still got hours and hours left to go. But let's crack on. We've got the rocket as it stands right now, as I've just showed you, and let's try and figure out where we are for the next step. So I've just done this, yeah, I've put it together. So next it looks like we're starting to put the cylinders onto the side of the locomotive, which is a very exciting step, and it looks as though they fit onto these pegs on the side of rocket. So next I need to find these washer things, which are size 39. Oh, I haven't missed this. The whole trying to figure out which part is which. But 39 are the ones with the smaller holes in them. Small amount of glue on these then, and they can go into position on the side of the firebox. Far too much glue on that piece, but I'll get that off. Told you I'd need to mop stuff up today. I had a premonition. And then we are going to glue, by the looks of it, the first cylinder onto the locomotive. That is very exciting stuff. And I guess that is now what these two holes were for. So the cylinder goes in the upper position and they are different. So I think this piece must be wrong, but we'll just verify it. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it isn't wrong. Let's just see if it fits. So that's going to go on like that. The cylinder is still free to move, folks. That's very good news. Right, well that looks right, doesn't it? I would say. So let's now get some glue on this piece and let's ram it home, shall we? Okay, plenty of glue on there. And the first cylinder is being attached to rocket now. There. Awesome. And then there is we're even doing the crank pin, folks. We're even doing the crank pin. So we need the 5 by 20mm rod and a number 32 sized washer or whatever it is. That is 20 and that is 4.9, so close enough I would say. Is that going to fit? I'm going to put this in the other way around. I imagine these will be the size 32 ones maybe. Let's see if they fit. Yeah. So, glue on the crank pin. Now I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to have to wax this piece. Shall I look ahead and see? Because I don't want to have to wax it if it's been glued on. I'd rather do that first. Well, it doesn't say to, but you know, this is a key moving part. And this is where a lot of the friction is going to be. So, do you know what? I'm going to do it. There we go. I've broken the rules. I am now a badass. Okay. Now I'll glue it in. The crank pin is going in. Alright. And then it's got one of these spacers which also needs to be glued in place. With the excess removed. And it looks like I am repeating that process now on the other side. So I will do that off camera and I'll come back to you when both of the cylinders are attached. Okay, so both cylinders are now gluing onto the rocket and it's now, I mean that has really transformed it, hasn't it? Look at that. Yeah, definitely taking shape. and both of the crank pins are now fitted too, which is pretty cool. And according to the where I'm going to put this, let's put this somewhere safe so it can glue. According to the instructions, no, that's not safe. The wheels are touching the, I guess like that, okay. According to the instructions, we are now going to create the box that the Loco sits onto. And to be honest, I am looking forward to this bit because it's going to be quite low stakes. I should think though there isn't too much that can go wrong. So I'll be able to relax a bit more and hopefully enjoy this. So we've got 17A, which is to feed some pegs into one of these end blocks. So we need some 3x10mm pegs, which I'm guessing are these. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Nothing to this. There we go. In. Nice. And then 17B is to put some of the same sized pegs into, I think, this piece. Again, we need 4 of those 3x10s, so let's get those. There we go, all 4 pegs going into the slots. Yeah, no problem at all, job done. Okay, that's 2 prepared. And then we've got the other block, predictably, that also is going to have 4 pegs put into it. I could do this, you know, I could sit in a factory and assemble stuff. In fact, I sort of do. I mean, I have my own range of different wagons that I sell and stuff, and honestly, the best part is just sitting and gluing stuff together. I enjoy it. I mean, perhaps I wouldn't enjoy doing it for the rest of my life, day in, day out. I do take my hats off to, all of them. I take my hats off to people who, you know, do that so that we can have lovely things. But yeah, for the few days in a month when I do this, I thoroughly enjoy it. I find it very relaxing. So this is a bonus. It's a real bonus being able to do this. Okay, that's the pegs in that piece. Oh, we've got the big parts now. So I just need to make sure I'm getting the right piece because we've got 2 that are this size. Are they identical? No. So we need the part which has the dots on the far side, which is this. I shouldn't think this matters terribly much, but we've got to get it right if possible. So all these parts are just being glued on, and I've also put some glue on the surfaces that we're going to be gluing as well, so that they are nice and firmly attached. All right, and here comes 3. I think I'm going to have to do this quite quick because if the glue goes off and these are not straight, it's not going to end well, is it? Leave that for 10 minutes, it says. Nah, not 10. No, we've got to do it now. Right. So glue into the holes, and then I'll put this to one side, hopefully, and put some weights on it or something so that it all goes parallel and dries nicely. Right, glue onto the tops. Why would you wait to put this on? Because then the glue's going to start to harden on the bottom, and these are wobbly at the moment. These are free to move, so I would have thought you want to get this on straight away. Right, this is going to be awkward to get this all together. There. Oh, yes. Satisfying. Great. How's that? Now, again, I don't think I have any clamps big enough to actually clamp this. I suppose I could sit on it for a few minutes, but no, I'll go and put some weights on it. Next up, it looks like we're going to assemble the moving parts which drive the rocket locomotive that sits on top of the box we've just made. And first of all, we're putting some of the conrods together and such by the looks of it. So we need a 6x10mm rod, which might be this. Is that 6mm wide? It is certainly a wide rod. Yep, looks more than 10 though. But then again, I work in such small lengths and such these days. No, that one's 11. So we need a shorter one than that. Oh no, it is supposed to be 11. Right, okay. I read it as 10 centimetres. This is 110 millimetres instead. Right, so we've got that. Then we need number 30, the little washer thing. Back to the start. So 30 is the big one. All right. To be fair, I don't think there are any others that have this diameter hole in them. So yeah, it wasn't going to be anything else, was it? And then we need one of these, number 46. Are all of these the same? Like so. And then we've got a 6 by 16 mil rod, which is a big, thick one. That must be this then. And I think is this going to be... No, this isn't the handle. This is what has the little rod that goes across it. Yeah, 6 by 16. Right, so we have all the parts and they need to be glued together like so. All right. Okay, so I've managed to glue that together. Quite a fragile piece that, so I'm gonna have to put that somewhere safe. And I think I have to create another one of those now. So I'll get on with that and see you in a second. Okay, there we go, that's the second one glued. These now have to be left for 20 minutes, it says. So I'll have to do that, obviously, before I can move on to the next part. So I'll cut the camera off for a second and we'll be back in 20 minutes when we will put all of these different wheels and such into the main chassis thing. Looks like quite a major step. I've just skipped ahead a few pages and we've still got to put the trailing wheels together for Rocket and obviously let those dry for 25 minutes or so. So I'm thinking we'll do that while the cranks dry and such, and then we'll be able to move on as soon as that's done. So we're going to have to put the Rocket rear wheels together, and I think this works in pretty much the same way that the last wheels did. So we've got a flange, we've got a centre, and then a bulking piece to make the rest of the wheel up. So a little bit of glue around the wheel. Okay. And that goes on the front there. Alright. So that looks pretty good, I would say. There you go, Stephenson's Rocket wheel. Let's go and clamp that while I do the other one. Okay, same process for the other one then. So let's assemble all the parts we need, just the 3 bits. And a perfect use of laser cutting with these, with the centres of the wheels particularly, with all the spokes and that. Yeah, they look great. Okay, that's the second wheel done. I'm going to go and clamp that one too. And here's the first one back. I'll be careful with it, careful not to disturb it too much while the glue dries, but I will remove a little bit of the excess. And we'll take a look at the other step involved with this, and that looks like putting the wheel onto an axle. So we've got tube number 55, and then we also need the rod, which is 5 by 92. I guess that must be this, surely. This is the only big thick rod that's left. So if that's 92 millimeters long, then we should be in business. Yep, 91.6. How's the width? That is 5, okay. So these are going to be mounted to the axles like this. So you've got the wheel on and then the centre like that. And the wheel is actually very loose on the axle, but it is to be glued apparently. So glue on the wheel like that, and a load of glue on this piece. So we'll get that twisted into position. I don't know, can that be right? That seems very loose. That seems too loose. Could it be this one instead? I think it's probably going to be that one. Let's get the glue off this big one quick. So I've finally done it. I think I've finally used the wrong piece. But it isn't clear which piece you're supposed to be using. And then we've got piece 32. So 32 is one of the small ones. So that's this, which does fit on the rod nicely. So I'm guessing that must be right. Alright. So that goes on there. And I will just remove some of that excess. Alright, there we go. So that's what the back wheel, well the back axle is starting to look like. I don't suppose we'll be putting the other wheel on just yet, but that's the first one done. Next, it looks as though we are fitting more of these axle holders, which go onto the wheels like this, to the main rocket chassis. So let's have a look. Now we've got an exclamation mark here, which suggests that the placement of this axle is very important. So it needs to line up with the firebox by the looks of things. Right, let's glue the first of these into position then, like that. And on the other side too, of course. And then we need to leave this for 25 minutes. Okay, well, they look reasonably parallel, don't they? It's these parts that I've just put on. Yeah, hopefully that will all work lovely when the time comes. But the time is not now, because it's got to sit for 25 minutes now. So I think we will now skip back a few pages and take a look at some of those other parts that I assembled. Right, so this concerns the box, which seems to have glued quite nicely, which is good. And it involves the cranks that we've put together. Just coming up towards the end of the drying time on these, so I'm still going to be careful with those, but that's okay because there are quite a few parts that need to be assembled here. So we need, looking at number 19, we need 2 of the smaller wheels. Yep. And piece 48, which looks like one of the larger tubes. I think this is the one for the trailing wheel set, so we'll put that to one side. So what is that piece, number 48? Probably this one. Does it fit the shaft? That's the biggest question. Yeah, so I think that must be it. So those are what we need for the top crank that goes in there, I think. So let's put those with a crank, that's all sorted. And then for the bottom piece, we need the big wheel. I think this might be the big friction wheel, which turns the main driving wheels of Rocket and also the cylinders and such. I think these 2 might be friction wheels for the trailing wheels, which will also turn, interestingly, so that's nice. And then there are these 2 tubes, one of which I've put glue on by mistake, but that's okay because it will be glued anyway, and they're going to hold that piece in like that. So I think we can get started with this now. We are not using any glue on these parts, except I do want to put some wax on them. I'm going to put some wax where the 2 surfaces will rub. So by the looks of it, the cranks go in. Let's get this the right way. The cranks go in a small way, like that. And we're doing the tender one, no, not the tender, the rear wheel one first. So it's big wheel, and these are going to be glued to the shaft, but later, apparently. Small wheel, big wheel. And they go right the way through. And then the bottom one is going to be a crank. Crank goes in. Then we've got one of the small spacers, or holders I guess. The nice big wheel, big thick friction wheel, which is a snug fit. And then it looks like another spacer, number 49. Also quite a snug fit. And then that just pushes through the other side. There is glue on that for some reason. Not quite sure how that managed to happen. But there we go. And I gotta say, that crank is turning free, which is good to see. Very good. We have to add one of these cranks now. So this is basically a coupling rod. A coupling rod, I hear you say. The Stephenson's Rocket doesn't have a coupling rod. Well, this one does. This one certainly does, because these cranks are coupled together so that the rear wheels spin at the same rate as the driving wheels. I'll be interested to know if the diameter of these friction wheels are such that the 2 wheels on the Loco will turn at the same rate. That will be quite impressive if so. I have a feeling that it will be so as well. Okay, and then we don't glue this in place. So they're going to go on like so, with these cards on them before I put any glue in place. Right. Okay, that's on. Bit more glue on the other one, and put this one on. And then with some tissue, I will just wipe the excess glue into the cracks. And the anti-glue thing has dropped off. And wipe some of this glue into the cracks as well. So that piece is in. And now we have to assemble the cranks on the other side, which is going to be fairly interesting. So I've got to be careful not to disturb the pieces I've just glued. So it looks like it's going to be the same assembly as the cranks on the back side, except this is much more complicated because you've got to do it on the frame like this, and you've also got to quarter them, although they're not quartering. These are going at 125 degrees. Yeah, I think that will work just as well as 90 degrees would. So I'm gonna crank these around towards the bottom, and these need to go at 125 degrees like this, I guess. Shouldn't matter too much actually, the exact angle is not that important as long as they're both the same. So yeah, that ought to be fun, didn't it? Oh no, I was supposed to have used one of the longer cranky things earlier on, but instead I used the shorter one. So I guess, unfortunately, I've got the handle on the wrong side. Doesn't matter too much to me. So I will have to put what's it's supposed to be on the big wheel there. So that's okay. I can deal with that. And I also need some of those spacers. Do my very best not to glue this to the frame. That would not be smart. 125 degrees, which is going to be like that. Okay, so that's the angle I'll have to match on the other side. Okay, so we need another one of these, I think it is. And slide this on. And then, this is the tricky part, we've got to try and match the quartering, or 125 degreeing in this case. I'm pretty sure to use 90 degrees would be as effective, and if anything it might make this work a bit better, might be easier rather. But yeah, not a problem. It's going to be important to get this crank on quickly while the glue is not yet dry, because if I need to adjust it, I think it says that, yeah, it says that there. So if I do need to adjust it, it will have to be done sooner rather than later. So let's get some glue on quick. The big piece on here for the handle. Okay. And then this crank goes on. Oh no, we've got excess wood inside the hole. Get it out. Okay, I got it. Yeah, it seems to be turning fairly freely. It's hard to say, of course, because the glue isn't dry yet, and you don't want to move it too much. But yeah, that is fine. That's fine. So now there's just some extra pieces to put on. In reality, these are just literally just here to stop this rod falling off, I think. Ugh. Yeah, this is awkward because we've got a lot of unglued parts here, but you have to put them all together before the glue dries, otherwise it could go all horribly wrong. So yeah, it's really difficult. Okay, so for better or for worse, the cranks are now fitted. I'm not even going to turn them because I don't want the glue to become unset or anything. Yeah, it doesn't look absolutely perfect, but I'm hoping it will be close enough, hopefully. So that's that. I've now got to leave this for 30 minutes, and then I will be gluing these turning wheels and such into position. But like I say, we've got to wait for that. So I'm going to move this out the way. So looking at the book, we've got to put the axle through the bearing slot, if you will, This drum, which is what will turn the wheels in reality, has to go on there as well without any glue, of course. And then we put the other wheel on and glue it, of course. So let's put a little bit of that wax stuff on if I can find it. It's like they've forgotten about the wax for this last half. I don't know how important it is, but it ought to just make everything move a bit more freely. So the axle goes through like that. This wooden piece goes on in the middle without any glue, apparently, for now. And then I'm going to have to go and get the other wheel, aren't I? And we need some of these spacers as well. Okay, another nicely glued wheel, and then we need a size 32 and a size 55 tube to put on. So the 32 size is going to be that one, I reckon, and then we just have to find the 52 size, 55 rather. Okay, yeah, that sounds fine. Oh, I've shut the book. I've finished with it. No, let's find where we were again. So this has to go on first, then the wheel will go on, and then this goes on the end like that. Right, so I can do this without the anti-glue thing, I reckon. All I'm going to need to do is put a little bit of glue on this shaft, which I can turn. This is me trying to get cocky now and cheating a little bit. Okay, that's thoroughly glued. I'm going to put some glue on this end of the washer. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to put it on the wheel, on the back of the wheel. And then I'm going to push this spacer onto the shaft just a little way. I'm going to push it on a bit further using the wheel. And then I will put some glue on the end of this little tube here, and hopefully I won't need to use the anti-gluing device. Okay, push that on to there. And I guess I could put something behind it and just give it some force. There we go. All right, that looks good. And that is nice and free to turn. Cool. All right, that's job done. And I'm not sure how long we have to leave this one to dry. Let's find out. So the wheels do not appear to oscillate this time, which is good. It says to check. And then the next step is going to be to sit, when everything's dry, of course, is going to be to sit the rocket down onto this piece. Now, there is an issue that I'm aware of. You know, you see the main rod here that sits into the rocket itself? There is a peg sticking out inside the rocket's firebox, which has prevented this peg from going in all of the way, which means it's poking out further than it should, which also means it's not going to go down far enough, I don't expect, into this frame. So if I'm right about that, I will have to saw off some sort of distance from this peg, which is very annoying, but yeah, the part in question was all glued and fixed by the time I realised that it was going to be in the way. I don't think the instructions mentioned that that was critical, even though that it was. So yeah, we'll have to just do a little test fit, I think, and see whether or not that is going to be an issue. It might not be. Maybe it's intended. Maybe that is part of the design. We shall have to see, but I don't think so. I could be wrong. So it's not far off, but as you can see, this friction wheel isn't quite making contact with the drivers, or the rear wheels for that matter. So I will have to take off some amount of this peg. It doesn't seem like it has to be very much, and of course if I take too much off, then they'll be rammed too close together and it won't work. So this is not ideal at all, but what I might do is just take off some amount, just a little tiny bit, and I'll come back to you and we'll see if it's any better. Okay, so I've taken around 4 to 5 millimeters off of this main pole, and I'm hoping now if I put this on here, we've now got contact. Yeah, and as you can see, these wheels spin. So if you do the same, if you make the same mistake I made, then that's what you need to do. Just check and make sure you're getting the distance right. These friction wheels have to push against these wheels, but they can't be so far that they reach the end of their travel. As you can see, these have still got plenty of travel on, as have the rear wheels. So I can take this back off again. Yeah, it burnt as I was cutting it, so it now smells of burning wood up here, but it's done the job. Okay, so I think we can go back now and glue these wheels into the centre. Plenty of glue on those. Force those together. Yeah, that looks good. And let's dab away some of that excess. I feel like we're coming towards the end now, folks. I feel like we're starting to do some of the final jobs. So some glue right in the, well, to the left of the centre, because I'm going to push it on. And then these two wheels can come together. Well, let's put a little more glue on there. Alright, and they come together into the centre like that. Okay, how's that looking, people? So we've got the wheels that turn the tender axle, and then we've got this big friction wheel which is going to turn the two driven wheels on the rocket. So that's that. Now all of the next steps in the manual have been completed, which is awesome. So that is all done. And now of course we do have the point where rocket can sit into its base. So do we glue it? Yeah, we are actually going to glue rocket in position. So am I sure that everything is right? Well, yeah, the fit was fine a second ago when I tested it. So let's put some glue on this base. I'm running out of glue a bit now. Does that mean I've been far too generous with it? Maybe that's true. Let's put some glue halfway up here then. I'm not too keen on this. Alright, and then we need to raise that into about a 30-degree position. And then let's put this in. I do need to glue this cylinder in the centre actually, which I forgot to do. So let's do that quickly. Okay, that looks good. So let's look ahead and see what the next step is. And that's going to be step 25, and that looks like it is assembling the connecting rods. Are these all the same? No, we've got one with a large hole and one with a small hole. And for this little assembly, we've got to have one large and one small hole together. And it looks like they have to fit sort of perpendicular to the table if I do it like that. So yeah, let's try it. The dowel into the hole, which has caused an explosion of glue, and another. So let's wipe that away. I didn't think I'd put much glue in those holes, but obviously I did. And then these need to go flat like that. And they go together. Cool. Okay, and the next step, it says whilst the glue is still drying on 58 and 59, so we are putting the rods onto the cylinders, which is very exciting. Right, so the rods are going to fit on like so. We've got a big end there, and we've got to lift the cylinder up. Whoop. Oh, is this going to work? I do wonder. And then onto those we have to put some size 32 and size 39 stoppers. So some should have small holes, others should have bigger holes. And that doesn't seem like what we've got. Looks like they're all similar. So there must be some others somewhere else. Well, I can't for the life of me find the little tube that's supposed to go on these cylinders here, so I've actually just 3D printed some. I've 3D printed a spacer to go on first before the connecting rod, because it looks a little bit like there's going to be some collisions there, and then a bigger piece to go on the end to hold the rod on. So yeah, I'm just left with these. I've got 4 of these and not 2 of the smaller ones that go on there. So it's probably my fault, don't get me wrong, I've probably put them on somewhere else wrongly. But the easiest way to avoid that would have been to have had either the dimensions of all of these parts, because there's so many different types of tube, you just needed to define the size of them, I think. Or have these drawings to scale so that you can hold, you know, the parts in the right position and see which is the right one. These are not to scale. I mean, this, for instance, does not scale with any of them correctly. So yeah, I think we just really needed it to be clearer on the instructions. But like I say, I probably did put the wrong part in the wrong place. That's more than likely what happened. So let's put these rods back in position. All right, and let's get rid of that excess. Yeah, it's not bad. My 3D printed part, as you can see, just looks like it's made of wood like the rest, so that's lucky, isn't it? And let's pop this piece on. So yeah, I think we're coming up towards the last part of this. We've still got to do the chimney and such, so it's not over yet, but this is looking pretty cool. Yeah, that one's going to fit better, so where's my anti-glue thing? All right. And we'll leave those to go off. Let's have a quick turn. Okay, no, it's just fallen apart, but we'll see. There does seem to be a lot of friction in the cylinders, so I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of expecting this to be a static model, but once the glue's gone off, we will try, and hopefully it will actually move. That would be great. Okay, let's take a look at the next step. So now we are assembling the chimney, which is pretty exciting. So we've got like a funny angle going on here. So let's do that. Let's put some glue on here. Is that right? And then this is supposed to cap it off. Let's put a bit more glue on the bottom here. And then this piece is supposed to go through, but I'm going to use that to help me try and get this straight. What do you reckon? Is that straight? So that has to be left to dry now for 15 minutes, and when that is dry, it will be set into the front of the Loco like that, which is very exciting. And then we've got struts which go onto the front of the chimney, which are these by 58, yeah. But yeah, in the diagram, this shows that they are at angles, but actually they're not. They're just straight. So I guess they'll just be glued against it like that. Okay. And then the final step will be to these through the hole on the chimney, I think, and then glue these into the cylinders, which seems like a fairly straightforward thing. And then obviously we just put the we just glue the crown on, which is the last step. Okay, try and get this in the middle, and then eventually these struts, I think something like that. It's a bit awkward now. I'm like a bit stuck. Like, do I let go? I don't feel I should let go. Ah, this is super annoying. Good Lord, what a way to finish. Right, I'll get these glued and then I'll come back to you when it's all finished. Okay folks, it is the moment of truth. I have all of the parts, move these out of the way, all of the parts on board. I'm going to remove the glue stopping pieces of card now, and I'm going to turn the crank, as it were, for the first time. Now, I have to prepare myself for disappointment here because obviously I'm not an experienced kit builder, and these kits are only ever as good as the person building them. So if this does not work, I will not be too disappointed. At the end of the day, it's a beautiful ornament and I had a lot of fun building it, and it's going to look good whatever I do with it. But it would be a nice bonus if it did actually work. So I'm going to turn the crank. Are you ready? Let's see. Oh gosh, it is actually going to work. I mean, it's not what you'd call a smooth motion, but then again, this is, this is an early locomotive. This Loco was not, ultra refined. Does it go the other way? Oh, it's way, way smoother in reverse. Okay, so it works. Thank goodness for that. Yeah, that's a really nice smooth motion in reverse, actually. Ah, look at it go. In forwards, it's not quite as happy, but it is serviceable, isn't it? The rear wheels are very good. The rear wheels work perfectly in either direction, which is awesome. But yeah, go backwards, it's great. All right. So, timber kits. It's a challenge. It doesn't hold your hand through it. It's on you to get it right, and it is easy not to get it right. I'll have to say that and be honest. But it wasn't too difficult. There was nothing that was, you know, just impossibly hard about it. And it was great fun to assemble this kit. I've really enjoyed doing it. It really has been a lot of fun. And of course, it's a great looking ornament at the end of it all. And yeah, like I say, you can buy a motor box or whatever to hook up to this, and then it will, you know, then it will run on its own. But I don't know if I'm bothered about having that, to be honest. I think it looks pretty good as it is. It's freeing up a bit, isn't it? Look at that, it's almost perfect now. Yeah, I reckon if I sit and turn the crank for a few minutes, it might run in, as it were, and it might improve even more. But that is absolutely awesome. That's fine. Shall we take off the clamp holding the crown? I bet the crown will just drop off when I do this, but yeah, the crown. Yeah, it's a bit questionable, that piece. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching this mini-series. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you'd like me to build more kits like this in the future, also let me know and I will look into it. For now though, thank you very much for watching. Awesome Christmas present. Now I've got to choose where this is going. All right, cheers everybody.